Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Improv London podcast, all the way from sunny Chicago, featuring Stephen Davidson and Iain MacNaughton. Right, well, we're going to run through much the same stuff as we did last week. If you want to hear a bit more about what we're doing in the IO Intensive, feel free to have a listen to last week's programme if you haven't already. And then without further ado, let's move on to the questions. So, right, what have you been doing this week then, Stephen?
Well, week 2 is focused on character, or that's as it was advertised. I felt like we spent as much, if not more, time on group work, which is also really important. And the syllabus was designed by Susan Messing, which was really fun. I felt like the exercises were so Susan Messing, the instructors really couldn't have not mentioned
Susan Messing.
Yeah, because for weeks 1 and 3, nobody mentioned, I think, to anyone who had supervised the syllabus.
No, I don't remember hearing it either.
But I feel like if you've got an exercise called Doublemint Twins Get Fucked in the Ass, you probably want to mention where it came from.
There's probably Susan Messing involved somewhere, and the other one about 1,000 bugs living in your butthole.
Oh,
Did you do that one? Yeah, so I think there's a common syllabus between all the groups, because Stephen and I are in different groups, but the people teaching each group might do them slightly differently. So week 2, I had Nathan Jansen, who was really good. He's a member of Baby Wants Candy, so my second musical improviser in a row. So,
nice.
And he was really good. Who did you have, Stephen?
I had Patrick Rowland from Three Peats, which is probably my favorite group I've seen here in Chicago. So that's very exciting. He's lovely. Yeah,
Patrick's in a few groups, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Three Peat, and we'll probably talk about them later. We were doing similar stuff. There were a few things that seemed character, but I'd agree with Stephen in that it was a lot of group games and group mind, a lot of stuff on movement. And I actually did a week with Susan Messing a couple of years ago, and a fair few of them were familiar, but they were really good in continuing to help my group bond, do that old making strong, bold moves stuff just on instinct. And really going with that. So that's something we really seem to have developed, which was pretty awesome. And we did have some scenes in amongst all that, but it was really almost just as an added extra. So that's about that and what we've done this week. We're currently recording this at the exact halfway point of the course, but we're going to leave the week 3 stuff for the next podcast. Did you do any workshops this week as well as the main thing?
Well, we both went to the Second City musical drop-in, which was really good fun.
Yeah, that was with Neil.
Yeah, it was really well run, warm, supportive, and easy and well explained enough that a confident beginner could have jumped in, but still challenging enough that it was certainly worth our time, I would say.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. There were about 30 people in the end. So perhaps not quite as many groups, but it was still a really fun one to do, and it was free, so can't really complain. Very pleasant way to spend the Saturday afternoon. I also did a workshop with Tara defrancisCo.
Oh, I love Tara. Tell us everything.
Yeah, I'd not done anything with Tara before. Tara's Rance's partner, possibly wife, I'm not sure if they're married, but anyway, they're partners. It was kind of a sort of hippy-dippy Jules Munns, Heather Urquhart, hippy-dippy kind of thing, but it was really good. So we did a lot of staring into each other's eyes and reading expressions, and stuff based around that. But there was a couple of cool things about it. We did an exercise where we were playing a very ordinary sort of mundane scene, and then Tara would throw in a real curveball to sort of mess things up, like, you know, your scene partner has slept with your wife or whatever, and you then had to turn it into something a bit more positive, which was rather fun to do. And there's another one I'll talk about more later. But yeah, that was a really fun workshop. And I did one with Howard Johnson, who's the Kim Brackett's Howard Johnson of Truth and Comedy fame, with Del and Chana, on Monty Python type improv. I think he could probably have done a full day session with it, because I felt like we'd only scratched the surface by the end of it, but there was still some really fun stuff that we did. And which I might well use in some shows in the future. I can't actually recall being given Monty Python as a genre suggestion.
No, I mean, maybe because we improvise in London, it's just sort of taken as part of the canon, and nobody really thinks of it as being particularly quirky, as they maybe do over here.
Yeah. There is actually a picture up in the I.O. of John Cleese with Chana and somebody else. I spotted it the other day, so I don't know what John Cleese is doing there.
She gets around.
Yeah, Chana. Yeah. Maybe the other one was his daughter, because I think she does stand-up, but anyway. Any particular things you were trying to work on this week?
No, I just sort of jumped in and tried to have fun with it. I feel like it was a really valuable week for the group as a whole, just because of the sort of I.O. focus on slowing down enough that you take in every little thing that's going on, especially with group work, because I feel like even if you're all individually really good improvisers, it's important to do stuff like that, because I think if you don't have that common experience and trust within your group of ways through group scenes, they can get very manic and shouty, and people miss all kinds of fun things.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a productive week. Although, like you, I recognized, I think, all of the exercises again.
Yeah, I'd agree with what you're saying about group stuff. I've seen a few Harold's over the weeks we've been here, and there are a few of them. Some of the group games just kind of didn't seem to take off the way some of ours did this week.
Yeah, you can see from the audience if they're missing cues, and it's quite frustrating to be in that scene and know things are being missed but not be able to get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, sure. Too many ideas and all that. So, yeah, there's that whole, because improv's very much a team thing and making your team look good, not about the individual. And there's that Dave Pasquesi quote when he won the most outstanding improviser, that if he won it, he can't have been doing his job very well. Because he'd been recognised rather than his team, which I rather like. For me this week, I think I was really just trying to carry on with what we've been doing, learning to trust my instincts and make big bold moves and stuff. And because it was a lot of group stuff, it was a really good sort of arena to do that as well. So that was super fun and actually rather satisfying, a little bit emotional this week too. We did a lot of, if anybody's watched any of the more organic Harolds, perhaps less so the FA ones, a lot of movement pieces. We did lifts. I enjoyed lifts.
Yes.
So flying, because I saw, who was it? Might well have been the Armando on Monday. They were doing lifts, and I was like, I want to do lifts. So yeah, we did lifts on fronts and backs and sides and all sorts of fun stuff.
I enjoyed that, and I feel like it's not a technical skill that we really spend time on in the UK, but half an hour of time to make sure everybody knows how to pick someone up safely was really well spent, I felt.
Yeah, definitely, because it could go wildly wrong. We actually used it today, which was rather fun. It just happened. And we all were like, let's lift him up.
I know just what to do.
That was really cool that we could sort of have the urge to do it, and now we know what to do. So super useful, and I've very rarely seen it used in the London scene. I've seen the Maydays do it a couple of times. Although not one of the conventional lifts. It was lifting Rhiannon up as a tin of baked beans and putting her in a giant tin opener at Osho.
I remember that scene.
Oh, you were there, weren't you? Of course,
was last year.
So that was rather fun. But I think it's all good stuff. how's your team getting on? Do you feel you're getting close to your team?
Yeah, really well. I feel like we're bonding very nicely. We've had some great group discussions and group scenes and outings. Fantastic.
We have too, lots of meetups, pizza and beer. There's a rather nice bar just around the corner that has a happy hour on Tuesday where a really big 18-inch pizza is £8 and you get a pitcher of beer for $2. We're not in Britain anymore. And a pitcher of beer for $2. Because your average pint of beer over here seems to be about the same as a London bar.
Yeah.
The equivalent of £4 something. So, that's been rather nice. We had a get together. We went to see some shows together and had a get together at somebody's house and played silly games. So that was fun. Have you got any favourite scenes from this week? Either ones you've been in or ones you've watched?
The whole of both of Three Pete's shows, I would say. It's hard to pick an isolated scene or even moment from them because they're so fast in their tags.
Yeah, totally.
It all kind of blends together as one bubbly work, but I feel like I haven't seen adults have that much fun for a really long time. Even including improvisers generally, they just really, really have at it. And the level of love and trust between them is amazing. They'll go a lot further into things than most groups, and it's delightful to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I'd so agree with that. I've seen them twice now and echo everything Stephen says. If you get a chance to see them, make sure you do. And it's actually one of the cheapest shows, which is ridiculous because they're my favourite team ever, probably. Baby wants candy. Close thing. Anyway, they're really good, and they mess with each other, and they do meta stuff that still make it work, and they're just so fast on their brains are working like strangely fast. So. But in a very satisfying way that makes sense. How about in classes and stuff?
Week 2 in class, I really loved a lot of the group stuff. I think day 2 we started the class off with Caligula, which is a warm-up where you're always touching at least one other person. And all of the scenes that day particularly were really nicely grounded and physical and generous, I felt. So that was probably my highlight.
Yeah, that's interesting actually, because we did a few. I mean, we did Caligula as well, which is where you've got to stay touching everybody, and we did loads of other object work stuff. But the scenes we did all seem to go really well, and be authentic. So I don't know if that's anything to do with it or.
Oh, I'm sure it is. That is a finely honed lesson plan if ever I saw one.
We did one where we were 4 people sitting in rocking chairs on a veranda looking across the street to another house and commenting on what they were doing, which at first sight seems to break a big improv rule about not talking about stuff outside the scene, but actually it worked really well, and it let us see the relationship between the 4 characters. So we had one where we had somebody. Oh, that's right. We had to take out an object from underneath our chair, and this wasn't a real object. We just had to make it up, but that was supposed to inform the personality, which was rather a fun one. And one of the people in my group played this woman of an unspecified age, but over 80, who had a fan. She kept fanning herself, and she was very prim and proper and posh, but rather liked fact that the young men were taking their shirts off across the street. So she was basically perving on them, but it was done in such a nice way. And then some of the other characters started interacting on that idea, and somebody commented that her husband was on the veranda with her, so they had a little argument. Not a big sort of head-butting argument scenes with shouting and stuff, but it was all rather fun. We did several of these dance what you'd probably call interpretive dance if you were more theatrical than a lot of improvisers. There was one I watched. I can't remember what I think the theme for it was time, and they started off by going into formations, that picture from the sort of primitive man through the various stages of development to modern man, and then, which was rather cool the way they filmed into that. And then they went through the life events and how things changed over time, and how everybody was just getting at each other and fighting and threatening to build walls to keep people out. And then they did a sort of reverse evolutionary timeline, which was super cool, and there was very little explanation of this. It was just sort of all made clear from noises and a few words here and there, which was awesome. My half, not that we worked regularly in half of the group, but we did some of these routines in halves, or 8 of us, but that changed regularly. For this one, the theme was love, so we kind of did a Romeo and Juliet thing, or a West Side Story thing, and we had a couple meeting at a dance, and it wasn't a lift, but we kind of used the stuff we've been doing lifts so they could lean back and make the outline of a heart between them, and then we broke them up. There were forces breaking them up. And there was a bit of toing and froing, and then at the end of it, they got together. All us baddies who'd been splitting them up were vanquished and lying dead on the floor, and they got together in the middle. But the bit, which was really fun to do, but the bit that was super cool was we'd said we were going to sort of pulsate the bodies on the ground with a heartbeat, and we hadn't got any music to sort of synchronise us, but we all started absolutely bang on the same time, which was incredible. So another one of my favourite exercises from this week was, the last thing we did was we all said nice things about each other, which I've done quite a few times, but it was fun to do again. But then Nathan sort of gave us a character to play that he reckoned was against our normal type.
Yeah.
Did you do that one?
We did. That's a really nice way to get or give feedback, I think, is just, I see you do a lot of this, let's try the opposite. It's a nice way to expand without sort of shitting on what somebody's natural style is. In our group, for every single one of those scenes where we were given a challenge, Patrick came in as a sort of walk-on and played with us a little bit in the scene. And I love when teachers play with you a bit during class. I feel like it's a whole different type of learning that we don't get a lot of.
Yeah,
really nice.
I can recall that happening in London, because I remember Anthony Atamanik did it in a workshop I did with him, but I can't remember much of the usual London teachers.
Katie Shute does it sometimes, and I love it. But I think people sometimes worry that playing with us is taking up our stage time, or just putting their stuff onto it, but actually I think it's really, really valuable. As a music teacher, I play with students all the time, and it's very much part of our sort of core values as music teachers. They need to hear how it's done.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I really love this exercise, because it is sort of pushing you to do something you're not necessarily comfortable with, and you wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. So, I got challenged to be a really slightly mentally unstable baddie. Think the Joker in Batman.
Nice.
Which I did, and really scared myself.
Nice.
Because I found it, once I got going and just surrendered to it, I actually found it surprisingly easy to do. So I must have a dark side to my soul to do that.
You definitely do, I would say that.
Okay, thanks. I think. Any other things in particular from this week? Any quotes? We like quotes.
I'm not a big quotes person.
Right.
I tend to be slightly more abstract.
Okay.
Go on, tell me your favorite quotes.
Okay, I'll say mine. There are loads, actually. Own your weird, which I really like. Which is kind of about taking pleasure in your character and not being apologetic for it. So if you've got some major flaw or quirk, just sort of owning it and stuff. Particularly in all the group work we did, there's another one I like, which is see what's needed, be what's needed. So be aware of what's not going on at that time that would be useful, and then take responsibility for going and doing it. Which is another one I like. I mean, it's probably true if you're doing a montage or something. If you think a certain type of scene would be good, or a walk-on would be good, and benefit the show, then do it.
I think any form you want to sort of pay attention to varying the length, pace, and energy, and where you are on the stage. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a good analogy on that today, which is strictly speaking from week 3, but it was like, if you think of a show as like a music album, if all the tracks were the same pace and everything, it would be a very boring album. I think that holds for scenes, so I like that one. Tara's one doesn't exactly come with a quote, but the idea of not picking fights and stuff, that was a really interesting one. I noticed it in a couple of shows. They tended not to have head-butting arguments, or if it looked like it was, I don't literally mean head-butting, but one where you're both screaming abuse at each other. I've noticed it a few times in shows. If it looked like it was going that way, they kind of deflated it. Maybe with a sort of half and half thing, so not dropping the point of view, but kind of reluctantly accepting. So one, for example, I can't remember which show this was from, was a mum and a son, and the stepdad who the son kept picking fights with. And his mum eventually persuaded him, and he said, "Okay, I'll stop picking fights, but get him to keep out of my way," which isn't dropping the point of view, but it is sort of stopping it escalating into yelling. What else? That's really cool. So we talked a bit about 3P. What else did you see this week?
I saw Revolver musical Armando, both with you. TJ and Dave. I saw the regular Armando, and some nondescript Herald teams that tend to hang about and open for other people.
Yeah, they're quite often on first. So, we saw a fair few shows together this week.
It's true.
I made a list of mine. So 3P was on Monday. I'm trying to remember if I saw the Armando before that, or whether that was the previous week. It's all blurring a bit.
Last week's Armando was really, really filthy. And there was a big tour group of children in, which is hilarious.
Oh, was this the one where the woman talked about her vagina?
Yes, at great length.
At great length.
And there was poop and cum and all kinds of things. Magnificent. There
has been a fair few shows like that, and I'm not really a prude about it, but there comes a point where it gets a bit dull. So that might be one of those ones like the musical album. If you had 12 tracks about jizz, it would be quite a dull album.
This is probably terrible for me to say as a teacher, but my favorite part about how filthy that show was the squirming tweens.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah, they did do quite a nice bit of they did an orgasming vagina.
That was actually really cool.
I like that. Yeah,
it was sort of made out of a bunch of people really making a nice thing all together, and it was abstract and lovely. I thought that was great.
That was one of my favourite bits from that show, I think.
I like physical stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could have done with fewer poop stories, but
Yeah, poop's poop.
Minor detail.
Yeah, it's interesting because we get quite a few playing strange objects in London.
It's true.
I don't know whether it's just Music Box doing it. It's probably not. I'm sure I've seen it elsewhere. Then was that Friday? Saw the musical Armando, which I really enjoyed.
That was really nice. Oh, did you see Here?
I didn't see Here. No, I saw that in London, but I was doing something else that night.
Aha.
Tell us about that then.
It's a musical to improv with DeFrancisco and Rance Rizzuto, and it's really nice. I feel like a lot of the musical improv I've seen in Chicago has been sort of at a certain level, just in terms of the musical skill and depth. but Tara and Rance had a really nice variety of styles, and they were harmonizing, and they made nice cadences at the end.
Sweet.
And just as a musician, I could hear that they had actually actively worked on the music part of that.
Right,
That made me really happy.
That's great. I mean, they are both in the Deltones, which I saw last week, but they weren't performing with the Deltones that night. Yeah, I thought the musical Armando as well, they used the songs really well and had some nice contrast in there. It wasn't just rushing to a song for the sake of it. The scenes around it were really nice too.
Yeah, all of the scenes in that musical Armando would have been really great, interesting scenes even without them bursting into song,
totally.
Which is a really nice thing.
Yeah. Then Revolver, who are my favourite Harold team.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of Harolds over here.
Yeah.
I did go and see Virgin Daiquiris and Carl and the Passions, who both do Harolds. You can take or leave them.
Yeah.
I think that was when Felt was on?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
My teacher for this week is in Revolver, and he mentioned today that they've been together for about 11 years, and the whole time they've been rehearsing weekly with a coach, which I gather for the teams that are made up of more experienced players is not the norm. So that's probably one of the reasons why they're really slick and tight and on top of things, is just that they've put the time in.
Yeah.
Which I respect.
Yeah, totally, because that's a long time, but not as long as Deep Schwa. We've been together for, I don't know, 20 years or something.
No, but it's easy, I think, once you get to a certain experience level to think, fuck it, it's improv, I'll just show up and stick around. But they're trying to do their thing to the best of their ability, which is cool.
Yeah, I admire that.
I wouldn't say Harold generally was my very favorite thing ever, but that is definitely how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, it was lovely and playful, which is my big word for this trip.
Yeah.
How Felt?
I didn't see Felt.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you did. I'm going to go and see them this week. And then there was TJ and Dave.
Yeah.
The legendary TJ and Dave.
Yeah.
That was a really nice show.
It was nice. It was sweet. They took their time. It's a little bit like... it reminds me of an improvised Woody Allen movie, just in terms of the pacing and the following little minutiae.
Yeah. It's very much about the little details. They spent about 20 minutes talking about carrot cake.
Yeah.
Without it becoming boring, which might surprise you. But it's another way to play. And then because there's that old thing about bringing relationships in, and a lot of the minutiae didn't really have the relationships, but then they really twisted the knife at the end with a big emotionally heavy thing about the father.
They did. Even the carrot cake thing wasn't really about the carrot cake. It was about making a character's life slightly worse.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is nice.
Yeah, there was somebody who was leaving work, and they were trying to put together a leaving do.
Yeah.
And the carrot cake was an integral part of that. But yeah, that was really fun. Anything else we've seen? We don't go around together. We sometimes don't see each other all day.
There were more things on that we were supposed to go see on the weekend, but IO flooded on Saturday. And all
that's
of the
right. Yeah.
shows were cancelled. Alas.
Yeah, I was hoping to see Chaos Theory, but we got to the place and we met up in Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Whole Foods it's kind of like Waitrose, and it's right opposite IO, so it's quite expensive, but they do some amazing food. So we met in there, and then found out IO had flooded. So we went and saw Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that was lovely as well, I would say.
That was really nice, yeah. Really enjoyed that. Really don't get why people are hating on it so much, apart from the fact that they're being dicks. But
no, I mean, it's slightly cheesy in a fun and kind of camp way, but I mean, of course it is. It's Ghostbusters, it's not Schindler's List.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in keeping with the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was never meant to be a great theatrical art piece.
No, it's just supposed to be fun.
Yeah, which it was. I very much enjoyed that. Yeah, we've had I don't know, in the last week 4 or 5 storms.
Yeah, really intense lightning storms.
Incredible.
In fact, one of the train stations here was struck by lightning and collapsed.
Yeah.
How serious the storms were.
That was very
They really
sick.
mean business.
Yeah, the stations here, not all of them, but a fair few of them are up on, for want of a better word, stilts. Kind of like the DLR, they're elevated, which is why it's called the L train. It's short for elevated. And yeah, Racine, I think it was, collapsed because it got hit by lightning. But yeah, I got absolutely drenched through several times this week, getting caught in the rain.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It's
I just
heavy.
started taking plastic bags to wrap my phone and laptop in, and embracing the fact that I was going to be completely soaked.
Yeah, I went out on Saturday night to see Too Much Light Makes the Baby Goes Blind, and I thought I heard thunder in the distance, so I wore my cagoule, and I only bought that because I saw pictures of when the Maydays were over here a few weeks ago, and they had pictures of a very stormy day and lots of rain, so I bought that, but it didn't cover my trousers, and I was sitting in the theatre.
Forgive my ignorance. Did you say Kugel? Like
Cagoule.
Cagoule. What is that?
It's kind of just a waterproof device. I don't know what. It probably comes from a foreign language. I don't know which one.
Is it like a jacket?
It's basically just a super waterproof anorak.
Ah.
I'll show it to you afterwards. Yeah, this works well on audio only, doesn't it? Yeah, so the rain's been incredible. The storms were just ridiculous. Too Much Light Makes the Baby Goes Blind was really fun. I won't see too much because Stephen hasn't seen it, but basically they do 30 miniature plays or monologues in an hour, and the audience selects the order they do them in. And they rewrite some every week, so they scrap them and bring in some new ones. And it was a really fun mix of completely stupid to really pretty hard hitting, so that was really fun. And I'd recommend that. It's been going since 1988, I think. And I discovered the gelato counter in Whole Foods, which was a major thing.
Magnificent.
It's very nice, and probably not doing a diet any good, but what the heck. Yeah, salted caramel coffee, lemon sorbet, chocolate sorbet. Oh, it's all very nice indeed.
Nothing in Chicago is doing either of our diets any good.
No.
That's not what we're here for, though.
Yeah, I've accepted that. I did have plans to go to a gym and run and swim and blah blah blah, but it's too hot to run.
Dude, I've been jogging a few times, but you really have to go early or late. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some natives jogging about at midday, but I think it takes a certain kind of stamina.
They look like they're running across the desert or something.
They really do.
Dire. Any tips on coming to Chicago for the IO thing in the summer?
Bring shoes you're happy to walk through a really deep puddle in.
Yeah, that's good tip. What should I say? Yeah, they have a thing called a Ventra card, which is basically like an Oyster card, which is probably going to save me $100, $150 over the course of the trip. I've stuck it in my Oyster wallet, which is confusing Londoners. Over here as well, because it looks like I can use my Oyster card. What else? Basically, try and pace yourself. It's very easy to try and go out every night because there's so much good stuff to see at I.O. and also the other places like Sex City and The Annoyance. But for me, anyway, I need some days off, otherwise I'll just collapse in a heap.
I've thought of another tip.
Yes.
Bring a big Tupperware so that you can brown bag your lunch and not have to spend lots of money at Whole Foods. And since you're bringing a Tupperware anyway, fill it up with nuts, because they're weirdly expensive in America.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Good tip. If you don't like
Very
nuts,
specific.
that is, but useful. No, I'd endorse that, because much I like Whole Foods, you can spend a lot of money very quickly. If you do forget your Tupperware box, here on the Tupperware podcast, there is a place called the Container Store, which sells all sorts of amazing boxes, and I've now got a Tupperware container.
I've been using an old yogurt tub, but I feel slightly manky at this point.
Slightly manky. You can always go to Container Store. This podcast isn't sponsored by Container Store, by the way. Right, I think that's about it for this week. We've got lots of stuff lined up for next week. This week's already been really good. We're working on the scenes this week. which is kind of good to do after 2 weeks of only doing the occasional scene, but to really focus on it. So, but we'll talk about that next time. Alright, so we'll say good night then.
Good
or
night.
Good morning if you're listening to it in the morning, but
Watch out.
we're doing this at 5 to 10 in Chicago, so
It's true.
5 to 4 in the morning London time.
There you go.
Alright, chat again. I know you said see you next week, but we won't see you and you won't see us. Unless you have a picture of us by your laptop, which you probably don't. Alright, I'll say goodnight then. Bye.
I made this.
That's improv!